resources. I live on people's kindness as I'm disabled. There's a lot of us out here who are disabled being taken advantage of. I shouldn't have had to go to try to turn anything into the police alone. And a lot of people tell me, you never go to the police. Cops are bad. People were being killed, some of them by cops. I'm not very nice. I used to be a lot nicer person, but I realized that I'm the only one out here who's sober. I got to deal with the fact that I got Tourette syndrome and people's assumptions about that. Back issues that people's assumption about that. I smoke cigarettes. I cry a lot. I miss my loved ones. I have a diagnosis of Asperger's. If you look on your channel, on the video about the woman having a seizure while in cuffs, I've got recordings from a lot of different people that were involved in my situations, how afraid they are to come forward. I also tell them, when I'm mean to them, to go ahead and speak up about me being mean. People have been threatening to kill my friends and family for years over a situation that wasn't my fault, over somebody who was strung out on heroin. I've endured a lot of abuse, and it's been nationwide. It's not just Oregon. I was in Astoria. I gotta tell you, man, that place and Warrenton, both in Clatsop County. All right, I should tell you, if I wink at you, I have Tourette syndrome, and I'm not hitting on you or your girlfriend. I'll do this weird thing with my wrists, and I make funny noises sometimes. I gotta try to control that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not a choice, but there's so many drug addicts out here, man. How do you get separated from those guys? Then they got helping hands. And there's a few recordings on here with a lady who, you fill out the housing paperwork over and over again, right? When you're abused and you're on the streets, you're sent to mental health. Mental health, mental health, mental health. The cops refuse to investigate. I already know how it is. Some Karen calls it in. I exist in her general vicinity, so she got to be feared. It's stupid. The things people that they claim they fear from me, I don't do those things. There's a lot of people that ended up hurting their kids real bad. And I tried to turn that in. But as a homeless person, you're blown off and sent to mental health. But they talk over you, sell their own narrative over the top of what you're saying. And then you got to beg the sheriff for the camera of the incident, because your public pretender ain't gonna do nothing. They're gonna lie to you same as everyone else. They're gonna tell you they got an overwhelming caseload, so they can't possibly take every case, and they're sorry. How many times have you heard that? There's what a regular attorney can do, and then there's what a public pretender can do. And a public pretender is castrated by the state. They also trade us like baseball cards. You get one addict mother who's in a house and got busted selling meth. They're going to plea it down for her. The prosecutor might possibly trade her for 4 or 5 homeless people. It's stupid. A lot of people are dead in my situation. There's also a lot of officials that I tried to turn in. A lot of evidence that I tried to turn them in. That I did everything I could, but because I went alone, they tried pretending that I was schizophrenic and delusional, and therefore everything's all right. It's okay to hurt me. No, I'm overwhelmed, and they talk over me, and then I get overwhelmed from being talked over. And people everywhere do the same thing. The mental health wants to politely suggest that you move somewhere else. The police want to do it in a shitty tone. And then the public wants to come up and yell at you and scream at you. And how dare you record? I shouldn't have to. I want you to look at the conditions that I'm living in. I mean, it's not pretty. I got back injuries. I got paperwork all over the place. I have literally 15 bags of paperwork in the back there. I had to depend on drug addicts to help me to get my stuff into the mountains and back down. I go to the mandated reporters like I'm supposed to, and they talk over me and send me to mental health. If somebody's threatening to kill me, I need more than just mental health, especially with the number of people that are actually dead. Natalie Bollinger is actually dead. That's in Adams County, Colorado. Benjamin Harvey is dead, Boulder, Colorado. All predictable. Christine Bouhie died how I said she would. Boulder, Colorado. I get taken advantage of a lot because people can just call me mentally ill and ignore everything I say after that. And they generally do. When it comes to autism treatment, no. The way that we are treated by the public, by the police, and by mental health. Not send us to treatment to cure autism when we're fucking assaulted. Fuck no. I have Asperger's. I also have a very high IQ. On paper, it's 132. I'm sure it's much lower than that now. The first time I took an IQ test, though, it was also a lot higher. The problem is, after years of abuse, years of being treated like I'm an animal because I'm different, because I wink and blink funny. And then we got all these drug addicts out here, all strung out. And I have to depend on those people because they're the only ones who are going to accept me. I'm not going to get paid a decent wage. I'm not going to be heard by a judge. A police officer, when I tell them about crimes committed against me, I've recorded repeatedly. Victimization against me by people like, well, there's a woman here named Molly. A guy named Robert Farnsworth. Well, I get a manufactured history because I tried to turn in cops who didn't do their jobs. And mandated reporters that they sent me to who just wanted to set me up for therapy, not looking at the evidence. You have no idea how many times I argued with people over what the law says, what the lawyers told me to do versus what they're actually doing. There's a conversation with Marcia Estrada. She's my licensed independent mental health professional in Nebraska. Her coworker, Penny Cooper, was supposed to be my advocate, but she didn't. She never tried. She just wanted to push housing every single session over and over. That's all they do when you're homeless. Push housing. Wait, hold on a second. I had housing. Where were you then? The abuse that I have endured from one end of the country to the other over the death of Natalie Bollinger, its popularity, and having to deal with nut jobs on the internet to try to get help because I didn't have any real friends. I had drug addicts for friends and family, alcoholics for friends and family, thieves for friends and family, felons for friends and family. But to most of those people, I was more like a pet. They didn't care how intelligent I was. I was different, so I was dumb to them. I've gone through so much cruelty. I also give people a tiny taste of what I go through, and they don't like it. A tiny taste. I got phone on top of phone on top of phone full of evidence. Not just myself, but other victims as well. Please listen. I've been from one end of the country to the other, trying to show you guys that it's not just you. We need to work together. These are my loved ones who are dying. But you know what? I keep getting taken advantage of because it's easy to call me mentally ill, and then magically they can ignore all those crimes against me. That's not okay. There's also a lot of stuff about child molesters and rapists in here. Child molesters, come on now. People want to talk about how much they this and they that when it comes to child molesters. Well, help me turn them in. I keep getting abused out of my disability money. Every single month I gotta spend it to live in this. There's 15 bags of evidence back there. There's a desktop computer in my storage here that I gotta pay for every month. I gotta pay for an extra phone. I've got a phone. Oh my God, dude. Let me just play this from Claire. I posted a link to this one for you too, but I mean, she's had to go through the same things in the same places, but with the added issue if she's got kids. It's easier for them to take advantage of her and to make her afraid.
So I'm in my car. Hang on a second. I'm in one of the canyons, so I just have to get all the way back up to Estes where I work. Anyway, yeah, I absolutely understand those situations, and I'd love to testify about it because I had so many situations where basically, like, it's like the Stanford prison experiment on a massive scale out there.
Medicare and Medicaid fraud.
People drive
them.
people's madness over, like, power and control. Like, they really get a kick out of controlling the homeless population out there, but then they don't actually want to do anything about it, and so they just push people until they break, and then when they break, they're like, oh, see, this is why you can't function in society. It's like, oh, okay, so you're going to torture me for 4 months, use all my resources, send me in endless loops to go check out other resources, other places, until I have less than I started with, take away every basic necessity of living and comfort, Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs, man, like, no shelter, no food, yeah, people are going to lose their shit, and you start treating people like they have less than animal rights, you're going to end up with a lot of people that are basically gone feral, and now you're cornering them and threatening them. Of course they're going to fight back. That's not a mental health problem. That's torture. My problem is that the state that my ex left me in, and his, landlord or whatever, I couldn't quite form proper sentences, and I kept having heat stroke, so I'm really not even sure if the words that I thought I was saying were the words coming out of my mouth. And I can't tell because no one cared to pay attention enough. So I could have, I thought I was saying stuff like, I need an ice pack before I have a seizure, I need water, I'm having heat stroke, and I need help. And I would say that over and over and over, and they'd be like, ma'am, you need to calm down or I'm calling the cops. And then they would stare at me with like a weirdly smug smile, like, what are you even saying? And it's really disturbing because some of these like emergency workers and mandatory reporters are supposed to be trained to see something like that. Like, this basic shit, like how to recognize a stroke, or, somebody having a health crisis, not a mental crisis, or, like somebody starts speaking gibberish and half their face isn't moving. Maybe you should get them to the fucking ER instead of laughing at them and being like, well, if you don't want my help, I'm out of here, which is what happened to me in Vancouver, Washington in a fucking parking ride. I absolutely know that I have brain damage from multiple rounds of heat stroke because people were denying even so much as water to people that looked homeless. And that's insane. There's states where that's illegal to deny somebody a glass of water. And so it just kind of blew my fucking mind that people were just like torturing the homeless population to the point where they break, and then like, just modifying their own memory, I guess. Like, oh, they were always like that. See, that's why we don't help you. It's like, yeah, but, you could go 4 fucking months holding your shit together and functioning like a normal person, politely trying to seek out resources for, not to be homeless and, living in a hotel or whatever. And then if you're acting well put together, then they act like you must just be lazy or trying to calm them. And so they don't want to help you because you're not in crisis enough. And then when you finally hit crisis enough, they call the police because now you're just acting crazy. Or, like here in Colorado, I was told that I was going to get some help. I got all the paperwork they asked for. I showed up. I made, promises with the hotel that I was staying at that they were going to get a payment from this local resource. And I show up like an hour before I'm supposed to have this all done, with one last piece of paper that they asked for, and suddenly they had changed their mind. They had things that they thought were a better idea for my family, except for they didn't. The things that they suggested were so overly complicated and worse, and would make things worse for me and my children, and that it was mind-blowing. And so then I spent 45 minutes...
Sorry.
45 minutes talking to this director about it and hammering out the details, and then finally coming back around again to the point where it was like, oh yeah, just a hotel voucher would actually be the best thing. And this lady jumps in, she's like, okay, well, I still think that my idea is better, and that's what we're going to go with. And I had a freaking autistic meltdown about it because, like, it instantly made me feel suicidal because their suggestions, instead of a hotel voucher to bridge a little bit of a gap for me, was to put the kids in foster care, go into a safe house, quit my job so that I could go into this specific shelter. And I was just like, well, why would I do that for 2 weeks? And then try to pick up all the pieces after quitting my job? Are you insane? So,
They take advantage of us and they tell us to do things that are against our best interest. They know exactly what they're doing. I record everything.
Anyway, I had an autistic meltdown about it, which is what I did in Tillamook, after trying to tell my story like in 45-minute chunks, and then having, realized after 45 minutes of talking to somebody that they haven't been listening to a damn thing that I'm saying, and having that multiple times in a row, and blowing away a whole day or 3 to do it, like, that it's hard to even function. It's hard to track. Like, I get so worked up about it, just thinking about it, that I lose where I'm at talking about things. But then in the office up here in Colorado, like, I was like, God, you're making me suicidal. I just want to drive off a cliff. You're not paying attention. And they're like, oh, you said the S word. And they called the cops, and I swear to God, like 10 of them showed up and to, like, talk about why I'm causing a scene. And I was like, because I just wasted 4 hours of my day trying to explain something to somebody, only to have them pull the rug out from underneath me and basically prove that they weren't listening in the fucking first place, because what they responded with had nothing to do with anything that I said.
They changed the subject, and I got a whole list of things that... Where the hell is that list? A list of things that cops say and variants of those things that let you know that they're blowing you off. Almost half of the things on that list, it's actually illegal for them or any other mandated reporter to say to you. They don't care.
I had to go get my children from Florida myself because no agency would get back to me. I had to drive all the way to Florida and pick them up. They were covered in bugs, bruises, severely neglected. One of my dogs already died
part of it for you.
What looks like chemical exposure, and then the second little dog was, on his last legs.
One moment,
losing teeth.
I was listening to Claire. I got these at the public library there in God, what is that town? Not Astoria, but the one next to it, Warrenton. And I feel bad for those people. They got a lot of hate, a lot of screaming, a lot of shouting, and just like here, they're committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud, stealing from the taxpayers, playing stupid and victimizing the victims. On the bright side, I didn't get a gun pulled on me this week, so I'm doing far more better than you. Did I say that right?
Yep.
I had to write a letter, I guess, to the judge with my insurance stuff and give that to them. I got that taken care of. My back is killing me. You wouldn't happen to be a masseuse, would you, Hoss?
No.
Well, that sucks. I gotta try to find some help getting that stuff all turned in still. Seems to me most of the people here in Tillamook have big mouths but no balls. Am I allowed to say that, or is that misogynistic? Is that mansplaining? We're in a war, damn it. We're gonna have to offend somebody. So what'd you stop for? It's obviously not because I'm pretty.
Oh no, say hi. Say you just have to write a letter to the judge?
For now, they'll probably send me something in the mail here shortly, but like I said, I can't function in these conditions. I can't take care of myself, and people aren't getting that.
I gotta go do some things.
All right. A girl named Amanda, she got into a high-speed chase, and then she was afraid he was gonna turn her into the cops, so she pulled a gun on him. I recorded a story on that. A lot of times I record the actual situations. There's a video called Jamie Again. I sent you a copy of that. That was in the Dalles, Oregon. There's a bunch of videos of people being harmed nationwide, not just in Oregon.
And massive patches of hair. So, you know, I had to go get my children from Florida myself because no agency would get back to me. I had to drive all the way to Florida and pick them up. They were covered in bugs, bruises, severely neglected. One of my dogs already died from what looks like chemical exposure, and then the second little dog was, you know, on her last legs, losing teeth and massive patches of hair. So, you know, I just got them back like a month ago. I'm still trying to figure out how to help them with their PTSD. I have massive PTSD. I have to make my kids the priority because they're my responsibility. I'd be more than happy to, you know, go in on it with you to say, yeah, these things are happening, and here's what happened to me, and here's what happened to him, and that's how it's, you know, would have to go. But as far as just going in with you, like, I'm in Colorado, so I can't walk in, so I'm not really sure how much help I can be, and then it would also be extremely triggering for me. I'm dealing with a lot of mental damage, and like physical and emotional. So I don't know. I've tried to listen, and I've tried to tell you what I had to offer, and if what I have to offer for help is not something that you need, then I think we're at an impasse.
Actually, what she offered for help is exactly what I needed. You just didn't follow through. She got kids. They took her kids away. They took your kids away. How desperate would you be to get them back?
But regardless, I'm at work right now, and I'm out of anxiety meds, and so I'm going to have to let this go for this minute because I need to keep my job so I can keep my kids safe.
So the police try to bully us into leaving. Mental health tries to nicely coerce us into leaving. And then the public is very mean. Now, I record, and that's where a lot of people get angry because I record them in public. But they have no problem recording me. I'm fine with that. Now, the thing that guy said the other day at the very beginning, I didn't understand what it was that he said. I know what it sounded like he said, but the rest of it you can listen to pretty clearly. See, he started recording before I did. Smart man. But it'll show what it is that he was saying. You want to go victimize people? That makes you a pretty screwed up person. I don't think that you'll watch this video. I don't think that you're going to try victimizing me either. What I'm trying to do is get help, not just for myself, but also for the other victims. David and Katie Saltzman are still missing from Beaverton, Oregon. They were going to help me, and they disappeared. I ended up in prison over that situation. I was trying to turn in a bad sheriff, and they did what they do when you're alone, when they can call you mentally ill. They retaliate against you for telling on them. And the mentally ill crap, unless you have a friend or family member, nobody's going to watch those videos. Nobody gives two shits. Nobody's going to put two and two together for certain. There's a lot of true crime stuff. You might want to check that out before you decide on anything. But yeah, the stuff that's said about me over the situation with Natalie Bollinger is ungodly wrong. Not the kind of stuff that should be happening in what do we call this? Civilized society. Keep that in mind. People get a lot more have to work a lot less with division of labor. With many hands comes light work. 5 minutes of planning is worth an hour of work. Most people never get past the talking about it in the dream stage. Sure, you dream about standing up to the government. You dream about turning this stuff in. I got the evidence, help me. Child molesters, rape, all sorts of horrible monsters. And I've also shown that when I act like my predators, even just the little stuff that they've done, people flip their wig. I've been bullied out of my legal options multiple occasions. I got $20 to last the month on if I'm lucky. I do smoke cigarettes. I've never tried heroin. I've never tried meth. I've tried meth. That stuff put me to sleep. That was back in 2023. I just wanted to hang out with my friends. That's something that kills a lot of people with autism. 73% of those in the Netherlands who have applied to have their lives voluntarily ended. Social isolation. Autism is an incurable thing. And the way you treat us for being different is also incurable. You still treat us like a disease.